Update. Am I the a-hole if I call off my engagement because of a comment my fiancé made about my late wife? Original post. For some background info, I, 43 male, have 2 children with my late wife, Kayla. Sam, 21 male, and Liz, 16 female, all fake names. Kayla passed away when our kids were 15 and 10. I won't give specifics about how she passed, but she was struck by a drunk driver when she was on her way home from work. She really was the love of my life, and to say that her passing hit our family hard would be an understatement. I promised myself that if I got back into the dating game, I wouldn't date anyone for at least a couple years for the sake of my kids. 3 years after my wife's passing, I met my now fiancée. We'll call her Amanda. Things went slow and I didn't introduce her to my kids until we had been dating for about a year at that point. Now we've been together for 3 years and are engaged. Amanda and my kids have always had a good relationship. Neither of my kids are super close to her, but they have always been friendly and welcoming to her. And Amanda has never overstepped any boundaries my kids have, like trying to replace their mother. At the beginning of Amanda and I's relationship, she was a bit insecure of the fact that I was a widower. During the first few months of us dating, she would constantly ask things like, if Kayla had never passed, would I still be with her right now? I always kept my answers brief and told her that I didn't like thinking about the what-ifs and that she was the one I was dating now and that was what mattered. Eventually, she stopped making these comments and I stopped worrying about it. Now to the issue. My parents were hosting a family dinner to celebrate my fiancé and I's engagement. It was my mom and dad, my late wife's sister and her husband, Sam and Liz, and me and Amanda. Dinner was going well. We were all making small talk with each other and talked about wedding plans. About halfway into dinner, my mom made a comment about how she was so happy I was able to find the spark I had with Kayla and someone else. I don't think anybody really paid much attention to the comment, but then Amanda laughed and said, I'm happy she died, otherwise I would have never gotten him to myself. The tone of the dinner immediately shifted, and everyone got extremely tense, especially my kids. Amanda noticed the shift and started awkwardly laughing like she was trying to play her comment off as a joke. I was honestly just frozen, as that was the first time she had made a comment like that. My kids looked disgusted, and Liz got up and walked out to the car. Sam waited a bit longer like he wanted me to say something, but I was still in shock about what Amanda had said. To make a long story about the dinner short, the dinner was kind of ruined. So I said my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed my fiancé, and we all drove home. My daughter hasn't spoken to me nor Amanda since, and it's been 3 days. I got tired of it and pulled my son aside to ask him what I should do. He said something along the lines of, I'm a grown man and don't care who another grown man marries, but I don't want a woman who speaks like that about our mother around my sister. Sam's comment stuck with me, and now I'm considering calling off the engagement entirely. She's never made comments like this before, but I'm worried if I let it slide this one time, it will become more frequent, and it will affect my daughter. I need some advice from outside perspectives, and just want to do right by my kids. Would I be the a-hole if I called off the engagement because of the comment she made? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. I'm happy she died would be unforgivable for me, especially knowing my kids heard my fiancé say that. Disgusting. I wouldn't be able to not think about that every time I looked at them. And his late wife's sister was there too. Holy smokes. The gall to say that in front of the woman's children and sister. Yeah, she's never going to let this go, but you can. Your son just told you the deal. It's her or them. Choose wisely. Exactly. His son told him in a very gentle but mature way that he's going to lose his kids too if he stays with his woman. The kid likely got his pint from his mom. Not the a-hole. What Amanda said was distasteful. In vino veritas. Perhaps that's how she sees this relationship. Fighting with a dead person she will never win. She's bitter and jealous of what you two had. Your mother also shouldn't have said such a thing. It was also distasteful. I think you will lose your kids if you marry her. Sorry. Not the a-hole. I completely understand your son. Another young guy with wisdom beyond his age. Edit? Wow, I didn't expect to get this much advice so shortly after posting this. Nonetheless, thank all of you for the advice, and even the people calling me a bad father. I think you guys' words are what I needed to pull my head out my behind. I will try to talk to my kids alone tonight before speaking with my fiancé, and we'll see where it goes from here. I'm pretty sure my fiancé and I are over though. I'll update tonight or tomorrow on how the talks with everyone goes. Thank all of you again for setting my head straight. Now for the first update. I promised I would update everyone after I had talked to my kids, so here's the update. It's kind of long, so I hope that doesn't go against the rules of this community. I'm also gonna use this update as a way to clarify some of the questions people were asking in the comments. 1. Did my fiancé apologize to anyone at the dinner party? No, she didn't. I honestly don't think it even registered or has registered to her that what she said was wrong. 2. Does fiancé have social anxiety? Not to my knowledge, no. In all the time I've known her, she's never shown any signs of social anxiety and doesn't have a history of it. 3. How old was my late wife? She was 37 when she passed, and we were the same age. Amanda is 41. A lot of people were asking for clarification on the time frame of her passing and when my fiancé and I met. At this point in time, Kayla has been gone for about 6 years, and I met Amanda roughly 3 years after Kayla's passing. I didn't mention either of their ages, as I didn't believe it was important because we're so close in age. But I understand why a lot of you guys would want to know. Now that I've clarified the things I was most asked about in the comments, we can get into the update. While I'm writing this update, it's the day after I talked to my kids. So last night at around 5:30, my fiancé left for work. She works nights most days of the week, so I was able to call my son and ask if he could come over so I can talk to him and his sister. He goes to our local college and lives in an apartment near his school. When he started college, he wanted to move out, but also wanted to stay close to us, so he settled on an apartment a few blocks away from the college. He came over and I called him and his sister into the living room to talk with the both of them. When they were both seated, I told them point blank that I didn't think the wedding was happening anymore, and that the comment she made was unacceptable. I then, by the advice of the comments, apologized to them. I told them I was sorry for not saying anything for so long and letting the tension thicken in our home. I told my daughter that I understood why she hasn't spoken to me and that I was sorry for allowing her to think that I was even remotely okay with what she said. I felt pretty spineless after we had gotten back from dinner that night, so I wanted to do everything in my power to make it right with my kids during the conversation. My daughter told me that she felt disgusted at the comment Amanda made, and even more so when I didn't defend her mother. She then told me that the past 2 years that she's known Amanda, she felt like she's been gradually trying to push her and Sam away from me. One of the examples Liz gave was when my son moved out. He moved out when he was about to start his sophomore year of college, and when he mentioned the idea of moving out, Amanda was the one who took that and ran with it. According to Liz, Amanda was the one encouraging Sam the most to move out. To be clear, I was never against Sam moving out, but I was clear to him he was welcome to live at home for his college years, and even after, until he found where he wanted to be. I asked Sam if he felt pushed out by Amanda, and if that's why he moved out. He said he hadn't felt pushed out before he told everyone he wanted to move, but after he put it out there, my fiancé kept pushing for him to move out. Liz cut in and said that every time she brings up college, Amanda keeps encouraging her to go out of state. Liz doesn't plan on going out of state, and she's been open about wanting to go to the college Sam is attending right now. Liz said she feels like Amanda's waiting till she graduates high school and goes to college, so she can move out. A lot of the comments were right about the subtle comments eventually turning into Amanda wanting my kids pushed away from me. Liz said that she was scared that by the time I eventually noticed the way Amanda was acting, too big of a wedge would have already been driven between me and them. I told my kids that I'm sorry it's taken me this long to notice, and that I was also sorry they've been walking in eggshells for so long. I hugged my kids and told them that no matter what, they are my top priority, not Amanda or anybody else. A lot of comments pointed out that even though my son is grown, he still needs his father, and I made sure to let my son know that I will always be there for him and his sister, even when they are well grown. The entire conversation lasted about 2 hours. We covered a lot of the bases we wanted to, and it got emotional on all sides. In short, Amanda and I are done. I've made it a point to tell my kids that none of this situation is their fault, and that Amanda is the grown woman who said what she said. My kids and I are okay now, but they aren't 100% with me and probably won't be for a while. I'm completely fine with that, and just want my kids comfortable in their own home. Amanda has tomorrow off from work, so I plan on talking to her tomorrow. I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. I don't want my daughter here when it all goes down, so she's staying tonight and tomorrow night with Sam. So that's where I am at right now. Not super happy about the outcome of me and Amanda, but would rather have my kids happy and healthy than have a wife. Again, thank you everyone for the advice and the harsh words. I'll update after I call it off with Amanda. Thank you everyone. I'm sorry for what you and your family are going through. I applaud you for doing right by your kids and your family. Very glad you're learning all this about Amanda now, before you're married. I suspect you're going to find that your mother brought up Kayla in the hopes Amanda will show her true colors. When you're ready, don't give up on meeting someone that loves and respects you and your kids, and honors and appreciate the memory of Kayla. They are out there. I am married to a lovely man that lost his wife of 14 years. He has 2 amazing kids that I love and adore. We celebrate their mom with some special family traditions that I love and enjoy with them. Good luck. As bad as it sounds, I think his mom definitely mentioned his late wife to see the reaction she would have. I am that type of person. When my friends bring around new people they want to get serious with, my questions are not in any way to start an argument, but you can tell based on their answers how they feel about my friend they are dating. Had his mom never said anything, I don't think he would have realized this until it was too late. I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. You're going to ask her why she said something that brought out your soon-to-be ex-fiancé's true colors out into the open? Dude, you should be thankful that your mother's comment was a catalyst for you to finally see what Amanda has been doing to your own kids. You say that you and Amanda are done, but it sounds like you kind of blame your mom for this, when you should be thanking her for pulling the rose-tinted glasses off your eyes. Call off the engagement and a relationship if you want, but do not put this on your mom. Amanda is the one who made a tasteless response. Amanda is the one pushing your children out. Amanda is the one in a one-sided competition with your dead wife. For reals, I don't actually believe in ghosts, but if I pass away before my husband and later decides to berate his mother for mentioning me at a dinner party, I will find a way to hunt him. Gosh, I would have loved to have a father like you. You are doing a really good job. Someone mentioned a hidden camera. Cover your back in a conversation with her, just in case. Now for the second update. Okay everyone, here's the update you guys were waiting for. Again, this is a long post, even longer than the last update. So where we last left off is my kids and I talked, made up, and my daughter is staying with her brother so she doesn't get caught up in what was about to happen with my now ex-fiancé. Before the hard part of the day, breaking it off with Amanda, I made a call to my mom to let her know of the situation. A lot of the comments told me to not bash my mom for the comment she made. Now, thinking back on the situation with a clear mind, the comments my mother made towards Amanda was most definitely a compliment towards her. And that was confirmed in the call I had with her. My mother, bless her heart, felt extremely guilty for the entire situation. She fully believed the situation all stemmed from her one comment. I assured her that none of the situation was her fault, and that I've never blamed her one bit for any of this. We talked a bit more before I let her go. The call ended at about 9:15 a.m., and I was left waiting for Amanda to wake up. She woke up around 10:30, and I didn't want to ambush her straight after she woke up, so I waited until about 11:10 to sit her down and talk. A lot of people in the comments suggested to secretly video the whole thing. I thought that was extremely smart, so I had my phone set to record in my back pocket the entire time. I didn't think she'd try to do anything drastic, but I would rather be safe than sorry. The talk with her went about as well as anyone could imagine. So, not at all. I told her I needed to talk with her, that it was serious, and we sat in the living room. When we were seated, I began unloading at her about a comment she made about Kayla at my parents' house, how it made my kids feel, how it made me feel, her lack of apology of any sort of acknowledgement to what she said, and so on. I told her I expect her to give an apology to my parents, my in-laws, and most importantly, my kids. During the entire time of me unloading on her, she didn't seem to show any bit of emotion other than her eyes, which were slightly wider than normal. After I spoke my truth, she straight up asked, "So if I apologize to everyone, we'll go back to normal?" I told her point blank no. I told her that a comment she made at dinner was not the extent of my problems with her. I then told her that I know she heavily pressured Sam to move out when he wasn't even sure if he wanted to at that point in time, and that I also know she is now trying to do the same with Liz. I did my absolute best to leave my kids out of the situation, but told Amanda that the way my kids described her treatment towards them was the main reason I don't see a future with her anymore. Amanda was stone-faced up until I told her we were done. I think that's when the panic set in for her. She kept saying that she'll apologize to everyone, that she will make it right with my kids, etc., etc. I told her that if she apologizes, I will certainly appreciate it, but we were still done either way. She was full-on crying at this point and asked me why wasn't I willing to try and fix our relationship. And I told her that even though I loved her, and I will be honest, I still love her very much, I was not willing to take another chance of my kids being hurt again the way they were. I was frustrated and shot back at her, asking her why she was trying to push my kids out of their own home. And I got back an answer I was not at all expecting. I was completely shocked at her response, but a lot of you guys won't be. A lot of commenters actually hit the nail right on the head with what Amanda was truly like. Amanda responded with, "Well, I didn't know you expected me to have somebody else's kids for the rest of my life." I immediately saw red, and after about a minute, I told her get out. I told her that my kids can go wherever they damn please, especially in the house that I own and pay for. She tried to retaliate, but in the end ended up packing a few bags and going to stay with one of her friends. I emailed a copy of the phone recording to myself. The talk lasted for about 25 minutes, not nearly as long as the talk I had with my kids. So if anything ends up coming off the conversation, I have all I'd need to keep my name clear. I've texted my kids that Amanda's out of the house for good, that they're welcome to come home anytime, and let my son know that if he wants to, he is more than welcome to move back in completely. My daughter is coming back from her brother's place in the afternoon, and I still have phone calls to make to my parents and in-laws to apologize for this mess of a situation. Amanda's out of my house, but keeps blowing up my phone for us to try to work things out. I'll let her come by the next few days so she can collect the rest of her stuff out of my house, but she's not welcome to live here again. I'll be honest and say that I am a bit devastated. Despite everything Amanda did, I still love her, and I probably won't stop loving her for a minute. But I'll be okay. Right now, I just want to focus on a family that needs me and will use this situation as an excuse to bond more with my kids. Another big thank you to everyone who helped me in the comments. A lot of the advice you guys gave played a part in making things right with my family. It would be a good idea to start packing up her stuff now. A few times toward me, but I've also seen it towards others. When ex-partners come to get their stuff, they try to take or ruin things that you had in the house. Or if not packing, get it put in a spot in the garage or something like that, so she doesn't have access to the whole house. I would recommend that if they do this, they record it. Don't give her a chance to lie and say you broke or stole things. If you haven't already, change the locks. You never know how she might act out. Not saying she will, but better to be safe than sorry. Good luck, my friend. And add cameras to the property. After an intense breakup, it's always vital to do a security update so your home remains safe. Amanda responded with, "Well, I didn't know you expected me to have somebody else's kids for the rest of my life." You know, this line would have definitely killed any love I may have had for her. That wasn't already killed off with that vile statement during dinner. OP, I am so incredibly sorry that woman you love was not really the woman you thought she was. I know this is extremely painful and devastating. You were planning a life with her, and now that is severed. I'm so sorry. You did good. I know you know that, but sometimes we just need to hear or read it. Be well. Would I be the a-hole if I left my fiancé destitute? It might not be the right state of mind, but I had to get this off my chest. 2 days ago, I came back from basketball a little early. I overheard my fiancée Jane tell her friend that she's settling for me. This friend just got out of a relationship. I don't know what they were talking about before, but I just learned Jane saying that after all the a-holes she dated, settling for me will be good for her. She then went on to describe my job and all the perks of being with me. And love is apparently not on the list. Hearing this kinda broke me, and I just stood in place dumbfounded. I don't even think she even loves me. For context, we live in a beach house that I bought as a total gut job and renovated it myself. And I have several other properties that are all rented out. I work in property insurance from home and do house flips on the side. I'm satisfied with what I've accomplished so far in my life. All of this was worth mentioning to Jane, but not how much I loved her. How much time we spent together. Not how I tried to be supportive of her goals and ambitions. How she wanted for nothing. I'm not going to lie, I was in a bad place. Maybe still am. I spent all of the last night going through her messages. I knew her password, I just never looked. Well, it's a pretty common thing for her to say. Pretty much all of her friends know what's up. Jane wants a nice normal guy after all the a-holes she dated. She wants a drama-free life, where she'll be taken care of. Every time I read what she really thought about me, it was like another needle was being jammed in my heart. My first reaction was to yell at her and confront her about it. My second reaction was to make her suffer like I am. My dear Jane, the love of my life, I thought, doesn't work right now. She quit to be a real estate agent. I don't know, maybe she wanted to learn more about real estate. Maybe she thought her looks would get her by. She doesn't work right now. Zero. She also lives in my house. She decorated it and certainly put her touches on everything. But my name is on the title, just mine. Her car is technically mine too. She didn't qualify for financing on her own, and she just had to have a Beamer. so I co-signed it. I can probably make a case that's my car. We don't have joint accounts, thank the Almighty himself, because she did ask, and I pay her cards right now. I want to just show her the texts, throw her things in garbage bags and put her out on the street. Would I be the a-hole if I did that? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Never accept being Mr. You'll Do until something better comes along. Not Mr. Right, just Mr. Right now. There's no worse feeling than someone settling for you. The guy sounds kind and caring too. He wants a real connection, and she wants a comfortable life. If only she had really chased love, she could have found it with this guy. But if she doesn't feel a real connection, she was going to try to leave him destitute in the future. I just hope he tells her he feels like he was settling for her, and she deserves more. Not the a-hole. You weren't leaving her destitute. Think of it as you leaving her with exactly what she brought into the relationship. You're not married. You don't have kids. You saw love, and she saw a piggy bank. She didn't quit her job to try something else. That was her excuse, so that she could get you to support her jobless butt. And if she had a shred of self-awareness, she would realize that she was the one being settled for. The level of narcissism on people like her is insane. If all you bring to a relationship is looks, which fade, and a willingness to be intimate, you're not a catch in the relationship. Exactly. Like 80% of the population out there have decent looks and a willingness to be intimate. That woman is not special in any way, shape, or form. And the willingness to be intimate will also fade, usually pretty quickly after the wedding. If all she wants is comfort and money, and she is settling for him, I'm positive the intimacy will fade almost instantly after she's got her hooks into the money. And now for the mini update. Wow, I did not expect so many responses. Thank you everyone for your advice and kind words. I will talk to Jane sometime over the weekend. I think she picked up that something was up. I didn't call her from work like I usually do, and last couple of nights I made an excuse that I was beat and went to bed pretty early. I'll try to read as many replies and provide more information. But I wanted to clarify a couple of things. Regardless of how crappy I feel, I didn't like people calling Jane nasty names. It's partly my fault. I didn't give enough detail. Before quitting, she had a decent enough job. She's not good at managing money at all, but she would buy stuff for the house or gifts for me on special occasions. I never thought of her as a gold digger. She talked to me about quitting and trying to be a real estate agent. She told me she liked the freedom of the profession, and I tried to be supportive. Secondly, I don't think I misunderstood her meaning. Maybe she didn't mean it as a negative, but the messages were crystal clear. She settled for me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my pregnant girlfriend because I don't want to be a father? I, 25 male, had been with my now ex, 23 female, for a little over 3 months. I always made sure we used lots of precautions when being intimate. She was on birth control, and I always used rubbers. I wanted to avoid a child. I have known for a long time that I do not want children. I find them annoying, and they would severely limit my ability to do things I enjoy. Traveling, outdoor stuff, etc. And fortunately for me, my ex didn't have her period when she was supposed to, and it turns out she's now pregnant. She came to me and told me she was pregnant. The first thing I did was suggest an abortion. We don't live in a state where it's legal, so I offered to pay for her flight and hotel and told her I'd be happy to come with her to get it done. I have a stable job and make good money, so it isn't / would it be too much of a hit for me. She works as a receptionist and doesn't make a lot, so I figured it would be better for me to pay. That's when she told me she was hoping to keep it and that she wanted me to help her raise the kid as his father. I have no intention of being a father. Beyond just my dislike of children, I'm not ready for that. I made it very clear that I didn't want the baby, but she kept insisting that I'd have a change of heart once it's born and to just try it out. After a long exchange, I told her that if she intended to keep the baby, I would not act as a father. I broke up with her and told her that I would pay child support once it's born, but that I expect her to respect my wishes and keep the child away from me. Since then, she's been frantically texting me, begging me to come back and telling me she'd forgive me. She sent voicemails crying. It does hurt to see, but I haven't responded. The other day, she texted me saying how she can't raise the kid alone and how I'm basically forcing her to get the procedure just by leaving. She called me an a-hole, an abuser, and a sexist, then ended a text begging me to talk again. I certainly feel horrible. I really liked her, and we had a good relationship before this, but I just don't want to be a father. I'm already bitter about the fact that I'll have to pay child support for 18 years, which will somewhat limit me financially. I also feel it isn't right for a parent who doesn't want their child to be involved. I just end up taking that pent-up anger and bitterness out on the child, who is ultimately innocent, which I feel isn't right. With all this said, I come here to ask, am I the a-hole? I certainly feel like one, but I also stand by what I did. Not the a-hole. All of the moral issues aside, my man, before any name goes down on any birth certificate and money starts to flow, insists on a DNA test. Yeah, this is suspicious for her to get pregnant in the first 3 months while using protection, and then immediately wanting to raise a child with this man you barely know. I got pregnant with my first kid the very first time I ever been intimate. Boyfriend and I barely knew each other, to be honest. We'd been dating about a month. We decided to try to make it work, and we will be celebrating 20 years together next year. It can be difficult to get pregnant, but it can also be very, very quick and easy. Not the a-hole. A 3-month relationship and you used protection. Are you even sure she is pregnant? Get a DNA test before paying any child support. You will need to talk to a family lawyer to sign away your rights and just pay support. This is possible. I knew a woman who said she was pregnant and then got pregnant because they quit using protection. It's a manipulative trap, and my man needs a DNA test. If she claims she aborts it, I bet she's lying and was lying the whole time. Happened to my buddy when we were 19. Ex gives him the "I'm pregnant, we need to get back together, yada yada." She keeps berating him that he needs to tell his parents for a week or so when she hadn't told hers. He tells his parents, and the next day, oops, I had a miscarriage. Yeah, okay. Get a vasectomy. Not the a-hole. However, it sounds like she's going to be a nightmare to deal with for the rest of your life. I was reading this thinking, why not just get a vasectomy? No one form of birth control is 100%, not even when coupled with another form. His precautions didn't go far enough. Clarifying edits. On the topic of a vasectomy, I tried. I met with a doctor last year and asked about getting one, but he refused and said every doctor he knows won't do it until you're at least 30. It's a conservative state, and while I dislike the politics, I was born and raised here, so I'm still attached to the state and have never felt the urge to leave. Someone said I should have flown elsewhere to get one, and I guess they're right, but I just didn't think about that. On the topic of birth control, I bought the condoms myself, so they were fine. Whenever we were done, I'd throw used ones in the dumpster, so I don't think she went dumpster diving. I asked her on our first date if she was taking birth control, and she said yes, and I took her for her word. Maybe foolish to just believe her, but if she was lying, she'd be the first I've met to lie about that. Most girls I've met are honest about it. I assumed she was on the pill since that's the main birth control I know, but maybe she was on something else that I'm not educated enough on. That being said, I'll follow your advice and lawyer up, plus get a paternity test. I don't know how long that will take, but whenever I get it done, I'll update here with results. Thank you for your judgments. I've been away for a bit, but I'm catching up and trying to read what I can. I'll be checking back periodically and replying to some people. All further feedback is appreciated. Last story. Am I the a-hole for suggesting calling off the wedding because she thinks the prenup isn't fair? My girlfriend, 26 female, and myself, male 24, have just found out that she's pregnant. She's adamant about not wanting to have a child out of wedlock, so we have been discussing getting married. We've been together for 3.5 years. Prior to finding out about the baby, we had only talked about marriage a little bit. I know she wants to get married badly, but I'm kind of on the other wise of the fence. I'm not 100% against it, but definitely not eager/desperate to get married for multiple reasons. For one, my brother just recently got taken to the cleaners by his ex-wife, and he now pays her like $10K a month, in addition to losing some of his properties. And that whole situation terrifies me, and I've never really seen what a marriage provides that makes that risk worth it. To me, it's just the same thing as being together how we are currently, but giving the state permission to be in our relationship. However, now that she's pregnant, I've been more open to it, just because I know how much it means to her. So, we've started this process, and I'm slowly realizing that I may have bitten off more than I want to chew. While me and my girlfriend love each other very much and are compatible in pretty much every way, our ideas about marriage, the wedding, etc. seem to be a little different. For starters, for the wedding I was thinking we each pick some of our closest people. Maybe 10 or so each, I don't know. The number can be a little flexible. And go get married on an island/beach, stay for a week or two or something cool like that so we can have fun and enjoy it. She pretty much wants the exact opposite. Like a massive wedding in a big venue. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that type of wedding. It just seems like such a colossal waste of resources to invite every person we know, when we could instead have fun for a week or two, then get married on the beach with our closest people. It doesn't necessarily have to be the beach. I'm flexible, but I think you get the idea I'm going for versus the idea she's going for are completely two different schools of thought. She basically wants to invite every single person she knows. Like, I've looked at her list, and she's got friends she hasn't seen in years. Third cousins, literally everyone. To me, if I'm gonna spend a boatload of money, we should do it for ourselves, not people we barely know. We've been talking about compromises and making slow progress on that end, but we were getting there. She knew prior to getting married I would require a prenup. I make about 4 times her salary, and own a property and plan to acquire more. I had my lawyer draft up a prenup, and she has her own lawyer reviewing it. This is where we came to an impasse. Her lawyer believed the prenup wasn't fair, and we've been going back and forth making changes. I've made some concessions, but I'm kind of at a point where I don't want to make any more. While I admit the prenup is definitely ironclad, I think it's fair considering the situation. I'm taking all the risk. Why would I continue to concede on things me and my lawyer both believe are fair? So, recently we got into a minor argument over wedding stuff in general regarding the prenup/wedding, and I was just like, maybe we should just keep things how they are? Of course she flipped. We've cooled down since, and she says she still wants to make this happen, but that I need to be more open to compromise. I feel like given the situation, I've compromised more than I already should have. I talked to my brother about it, and he said I've compromised more than enough and to hold firm. And worst case, you stay girlfriend-boyfriend, which is realistically probably better anyways. Meanwhile, my sister disagrees and says I'm being a jerk for not working with her more. The way I see it, why would I risk everything I've worked for when I'm not even getting the wedding I want, nor the financial protection I want, just so I can say I'm married? There's just very few tangible benefits I'd be getting in relation to the risk. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Her lawyer believed the prenup was unfair and we've been going back and forth making changes. I've made some concessions, but I'm kind of at a point where I don't want to make any more. While I admit the prenup is definitely ironclad, I think it's fair considering the situation. You all can sign a prenup, but if a judge agrees that it's unfair while you two are splitting up, you'll very quickly find out just how ironclad they are. Prenups get tossed out all the time. And a prenup has no bearing on child support, as the court will rule that the child is not a party to it. It's impossible to say who's the a-hole without information on the prenup and relationship dynamic. A good prenup should protect the interests of both parties. This is what's baffling me. The girlfriend didn't balk at a concept of a prenup. Her lawyer thought what was presented was not fair to the girlfriend. That's her lawyer's job. If a contract isn't fair, the lawyer should advise to renegotiate. Especially since she can't contest the prenup during the divorce, any judge could decide it was bad and throw it out, like any other contract. Another issue giving me pause is OP's attitude that he's the only one that stands to lose anything. This woman can lose her life giving birth. She can lose her career caring for a baby. Women are the default parent more often than not. It's more than money. Skip the marriage and go for healthy co-parenting. Nope. I'm not having a baby by no man who isn't willing to marry me, and you shouldn't be giving that type of advice. Anything can happen to Opie, and if he drops dead and they're not married, she's gonna be down on her luck. I've seen that happen to way too many women. They've been with a man years and years, and the man dies, and the woman gets screwed over by the family. And she doesn't have much ground to stand on because she's not married to him, so therefore she's not next of kin. Same thing if Opie lands in coma. No, just no. I'm not having a baby to someone I'm a legal stranger to. Well, unfortunately, it seems like she's already at that point. Either she compromises on what OP wants regarding the marriage, or she aborts, or she stays unmarried. She can't force him to marry her. Am I the a-hole for continuing to split the bills equally with my fiancé? My fiancé, 27 female, and I, 34 male, have been together for about 4 years. We met in college when she was a senior and I was in grad school. We moved in together after she graduated and got a job. At the time, she was making about $75,000 per year while I was making $18,000 per year. We discussed our finances before moving in together and came to the mutual agreement that we should not mix finances and split the bills equally. The rent and utilities was split in half. When it came to groceries and outings, sometimes I would pay for it and other times she picked up the bill. It wasn't exactly equal, but close enough that no one kept track and complained. This also meant she built up a healthy savings and had disposable income while I was living paycheck to paycheck. But I didn't complain or even felt any resentment at all. The way I figured it, she worked hard for her degree and job, so she deserved every penny. I also knew my payday would come when I graduate. My payday came sooner than expected, as during my last year in grad school, I stumbled across a long-term problem in my field and came up with a solution that I turned into a patent. The process of building a prototype, testing, and patenting was very expensive, so I barely ate that year and lost about 20 pounds. I threw everything I had into it. When I got the patent pending designation, I showed my professors and one of them hooked me up with someone in the industry. They hired me a month before I graduated and licensed my patent. I've been at my job for a little over a year, and in that time, I've made 7 figures in combined salary and licensing fee. We still live in the same apartment. It's in the middle of our work and right in the heart of the shopping and restaurant district. I still dress the same, but I do have a nicer truck. Nothing crazy, just brand new. The rest of my money is either in investments or working on my next patent project. Which brings us to my problem. Recently, my girlfriend brought up the idea of me paying more of the rent and utilities according to a percentage of our pay. This means I would be paying almost all of everything. She said it's only fair as I make so much more. And I countered, how fair is it if I'm paying for almost everything now, when we split things equally when she was making more? I pointed out our housing and lifestyle hasn't changed at all, so it's not like she's burdened by the cost of living. She keeps on arguing about equality and I argue about equality too, but apparently our definition of equality is different. Am I wrong for sticking to our original terms? Answers to common questions. I don't know how to update besides editing, so here it is. 1. My girlfriend is not a terrible person. I was around 185 and dropped to 160s. Most people didn't notice that my clothes were looser. As I spent most of my time studying and working my job than working on my patent, we didn't spend that much time together. 2. I never brought up the lack of money and food because I don't complain. I ate at home with her but didn't eat anything outside. I sucked it up, so it wasn't her fault. 3. Besides this disagreement, we have a good relationship and she's a good person. 4. Some DM me about patent procedure and cost. It's complicated, so do your own research. What I did was file a provisional patent application. It's not a full patent, but it protects my design so that I can show investors without worrying about them stealing my idea. When you get a provisional patent, you can legally use the patent pending terms. I filed as a micro-entity, which costs under $100. I'm not sure of the cost now, since it's probably gone up. Once I was sure my design was marketable, I filed for a utility patent. This costs about $15,000, including attorney fees. Once again, I filed as a micro-entity. I had to borrow money from my parents and went on a diet, but it was worth it. Now for the comments. I just want to be clear. You were making $18K a year. She was making over 4 times your salary. You were literally starving because you could not afford food. You lost 20 pounds while she focused on her savings and disposable income. This is not a partnership between people who love each other. Relationships change and evolve with time. Keeping finances totally separate while dating is a different matter than doing so as you get married. It's not a matter of constant keeping to an agreement made a decade ago. But caring when your partner is literally starving is a pretty consistent requirement, no matter the stage of your relationship. Not today whole simply because finances are the least of the problem in this relationship. Yeah, definitely this. And now she wants to call unfair. That is just nuts to me. Rules for the not for me. This is going to be a consistent pattern in their relationship moving forward if he capitulates. If they're married, I can understand sharing the burden and running the household, but they should definitely still keep the finances separate. And OP should get a prenup before tying the knot. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If nothing has changed in your lifestyle, I don't see why you should pay more. Sounds like before she was thriving, and now you both are, so you should both be enjoying it. Yeah, if OP wanted to move somewhere drastically more expensive because he could afford it, then it would be the time to revisit the agreement. He was able to barely survive on less than a quarter of what she makes, so she is clearly not burdened by the present arrangement. If he could afford that, then she should be able to afford early retirement if they aren't having kids. OP of course could retire next year and be totally fine, but I don't suspect he wants to. Anyway, girlfriend sounds greedy and uncaring. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my wife who doesn't work more pocket money? I, male 27, can't help but feel like an a-hole about the situation, and my wife, female 23, has been calling me an a-hole the whole week. Meanwhile, our close family are taking my side and friends are split. I, for one, don't see what I can do. For context, we live in Europe. The issue is the following. My in-laws have the amount of money they give my wife each month, and she wants me to make up the difference out of pocket. For it to make sense, I have to explain our finances. I am a medical resident. My pay is pitiful, frankly. But it doesn't matter because I have real estate properties and make a decent amount of passive income from rent. My wife does not work because she is still in law school and her time is full between that and taking care of our son, 2-year-old. So here's the situation. 20% of my income goes straight into our savings. This I will not budge on, come hell or high water. About 40 to 60% goes into household expenses. This includes the nanny/housekeeper, food, gas, electricity, and my wife's school expenses. The percentage varies each month, of course, but lately, due to the war, all these expenses have risen, so it's always on the higher side. The rest of the money is split between my wife and I, but not evenly, and here is why. Before we even got married, my wife had an agreement with her parents that as long as she stayed in law school and kept her grades high, she would receive minimum wage from them, so she didn't have to work and could focus on school. When we got married, I promised to give her half of what her parents gave her each month. This way, our monthly pocket change would be roughly the same. This agreement has worked for the past 4 years. Unfortunately, this midterms her grades dropped. They're not terrible, mind you, but her parents have high standards, so until she can get her grades back up in February, they said they'd have her monthly pay. I kept the amount I give her the same. Essentially, she receives minimum wage now. My wife has asked me to increase how much I give her to make up the difference. I refused, and I still refuse, because my income didn't magically increase in a month. I pointed out that she had an agreement with her parents and me, that her decrease in her money is a result of her actions. I upheld my side of the bargain, and told her she will just have to deal with a little less personal money for a couple of months until she can get her grades back up. I'm 100% certain she can do this. She maintained this isn't fair, and that as her husband, I should take care of her. She said I could just lower how much I keep to myself, or raise the rent since I already rent under the market price. I told her I am not raising rent and leaving people homeless in these uncertain times, and that if I give her more from my own side, I'd almost have nothing left for myself each month. I really wish I could give her more. I do, but I can't magically make more money, and I think I deserve a little for myself as well. In my opinion, her receiving minimum wage without working is enough. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I felt bad until I read nanny and your wife's school expenses. Frankly, she's an adult, and she's lucky her parents and you are giving her anything. There are people out there studying, looking after children, and still have to work. What does your wife need the money for if you're paying for everything else? Right? As soon as I read the title, I was ready to call him an A. The more I read, the more I was surprised by the entitlement of the wife. She basically gets a decent income only to stay in school. Most students don't. Also, please don't say that she gets the income to be a stay-at-home mom because her toddler is only 2. It is clear that she got this income even when she was childless. Moreover, she has a nanny/housekeeper. Also, her reasoning is that you're her husband, so you should pay her? and the fact she wanted to raise the rent to people that do work and are likely less wealthy. Sure, it's not easy studying and taking care of a child, but she has all the means to succeed. My mom graduated law school with 2 kids, a job, no housekeeper/nanny, and the highest grade possible. Obviously not the a-hole. She is, just for even thinking that. I felt bad for the wife's full plate, until you said nanny? And housekeeper. I don't disagree with not the a-hole. However, Opie didn't state how often the housekeeper comes. At their income, I don't think daily housekeeping is an option, so the wife likely has to clean most days. He pays for rent, electricity, gas, food, nanny, housekeeper, and his wife's school expenses, and then gives her half the rate of minimum wage. Why should she get more of his own spending money than him if he's also paying for everything? If she has to do laundry and clean up a little clutter and get an allowance, she's getting an amazing deal. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister 50% of my small business? I started a small business in July 2020, and about 8 months in, I hired my older sister to do some administrative work for me. She had recently had a baby and was not planning on returning to work but still needed a little money. So she asked if there was anything she could do to help the business, and I said yes. Her responsibilities included answering some emails, organizing existing spreadsheets, and reaching out to other business, which was her background, though none of the reaching out led anywhere. She clocked about 5 to 8 hours of work per week, and I paid her $25 per hour. I still created a product for the client, answered follow-up emails from the client, handled the financials, and ran the social media and website. About a year in, we decided to do a rebrand. We hired someone to make a new logo, and I built a new website. About 5 months before the launch of the rebrand, she asked if we could get something in writing, an employment contract. It also expressed an interest in owning a part of the business. I told her we could definitely get something in writing and I would think about a part ownership. 3 months later, I suggested a 70-30 split, to which she disagreed. She said she was looking for a 50-50. I said I was definitely not comfortable with a 50-50 and the highest I would ever go would be 51-49. She responded with, "What's the point of being part owner when your decision would still be the final say?" Again, I told her I would think about it. 2 weeks before the launch of the rebrand, I was talking to my husband and made a comment about having to give her 50% to keep the peace. He advised me to write down my financial contribution to the company versus hers. Obviously, the financial, let alone time commitment, was staggering. I presented her with a spreadsheet of tiers to buy into the company, 10% for free and then tiered payments all the way up to 49%. She was very angry, saying that I had blindsided her, betrayed her, and even went as far to say she built my business. I've apologized for not bringing it up until the week before the launch, but she refuses to speak to me. She refuses to come to family Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it's tearing my family apart. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She was an employee. You paid her a wage to do a job. You have the financial interest in the company. If she hasn't invested her own money, why does she think she's entitled to any form of ownership interest? Oh goodness. Why in the world did you offer her 49%? This is where you let it get cloudy because she's your sister. She did hourly work for an hourly wage. I would take all of that off the table. If you want to sell her some interest in the company, go ahead. But you already got a taste of what this will be like. Exactly. Had this been anyone else asking for a share in the business, would Opie have done this? Not the a-hole. And if she feels this entitled now, how will she be like if she gets a share? Opie should completely sever business ties with his sister. Edit, and if greedy and entitled sister still has access to any of the systems, email/website accounts, bank access, etc., kick her out immediately and change passwords. Secure those things before she helps herself to them or make a mess in there. You know she'll hide behind family to avoid prosecution. And if you're feeling this badly about not giving her shares that she hasn't earned, I doubt you'd file charges against her if she steals from you or ruins your business's reputation. Yep, employee share ownership is a thing some businesses do where I live, but I can tell you now that I wasn't given 50% of the shares. I purchased my shares in the same scheme every other employee can use, and it was a lot less than 50% of the shares just for turning up as just an employee, not an owner or investor. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not continuing all of my grandmother's tradition by not paying for my cousin's college housing? My grandmother passed away this summer, and in her will, I was left a small home in the college town that I live in. This house was where I, as well as my siblings and some other members of my family, lived while we pursued our degrees. My grandmother made rent equal to expenses plus a bit extra to cover regular maintenance. It was a stellar deal for college, and it holds a lot of fond memories. I feel very fortunate to have received this house and intend on continuing her legacy with the space. I have told my family, there are 4 remaining cousins who are not college-aged yet, that I intend on continuing renting the house out at cost to family members if they chose to pursue a degree at the college where this house is located, or if they choose to take a job in the area during their college-age years. Here is where the dilemma comes in. When I made this announcement, I received a call from a cousin who is currently attending a different college that is nowhere near the home I inherited. She wanted to know how much I intended on sending her for her housing when she moved off campus next fall, as my grandmother did give some money for her grandchildren who chose not to go to college where the house was. Not nearly enough to make the deal that the house was, but from my understanding, it was equal to a couple $100s a month. And when I told her I was not planning on sending any money for her housing, she went off screaming that I was disgracing my grandmother's legacy, and that grandma would have wanted me to fulfill the entire legacy of college housing generosity. I am not a wealthy person. I did not receive any money in inheritance, just a house. And even that, I have had to spend a fair amount of money in repairs to get home back to the prime condition, as non-family tenants had moved out during her passing, and they took advantage of the lack of supervision during the legal red tape surrounding the house. So I told her that even if I wanted to fulfill the whole legacy, I didn't have the money, and that was it. Now I have family members calling, stating that I am now forcing their children to choose this school near the house when everyone else got to choose. I feel guilty, but it's not like they can't go to another school. They will just have to pay for 100% of their housing. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are carrying on a part of the tradition that she left to you, period. If your grandmother wanted you to send your cousins money, she needed to leave you a bank account of money with which to do it. After the repairs are paid off, if you are actually making money off the house, you can revisit using that money to restart that other part. But that's clearly not happening right now. Presumably, she did leave money split up between many people, but it's harder to convince a group of people to pay a little bit than to use group pressure to harass one person into paying for it all. Am I the a-hole for canceling all of my stepkids' tickets for our family vacation while my husband and I are still going? Buckle in, it's gonna be a long ride. My 48 husband, Randall, 50, have been together for 14 years. Randall has 4 children, 2 sons, Kyle, 26, Alex, 24, and 2 daughters, Savannah, 21, and Cassandra, 20. It's important that y'all know, as we get into this, that the oldest and the youngest are not his, biologically, but he's raised them as if they were. When Randall and I first got together, 3 of his children were in elementary school, and the oldest was in the middle school. They really didn't take to me at first, as they wanted their parents to be together like any child would. I completely understood, and I gave them plenty of time to spend with her father when we were with them. I'd busy myself with shopping or visiting my own family. Eventually, we bonded and began spending time together. I do birthdays and holidays big for them, and got to where we go and do things on our own when my husband had to work, and he's always worked a lot. Here's my issue. Over the last several years now, they've adopted this sense of entitlement towards us, but mainly their father. When we go into town to visit, we live 5 hours away. They'll rarely make the effort to spend any time with us. So, we typically end up doing things on our own and then coming back home. Lately, we are of the mindset that we shouldn't have to drop everything and come to them every time anymore. Especially when we know that most times, they're not gonna show up. And they're adults. If they want to see us, they can make a trip to where we live. These days, their phone calls consist of asking for money for gas, groceries, to hang out with friends, or to help fund their trips with their mom. Randall used to send money for everything they would ask for, but has now begun to say no and to really put his foot down. He's told them that they need to work for the things that they want, and that everything is not always going to be handed to them. Anytime he says no or that we can't help right now, it's the silent treatment for weeks and sometimes months. We're coming to the part where I'm questioning myself and my decision to cancel their vacation. Early fall 2022, Kyle told us that he and his girlfriend were expecting a baby. We didn't even know he had a girlfriend, but that he doesn't think he wants Randall to be part of the baby's life because he isn't Kyle's biological father. This man raised this boy from 8 months old and did everything that a father should do, but he's not good enough to be grandpa? But he said he'd let us know. So we proceeded through birthdays and the holidays, and of course I went all out as per usual. Now, right after the new year, I received a phone call from Kyle asking if Dad and I could help fund their baby shower. It would go towards food, decorations, and the venue. I said yes, and I went ahead and sent him the money, and he told me that in a week or so, he'd give me all the details of the baby shower and to expect the invitation in the mail. About an hour later, Randall calls me and says that Kyle called and asked him if we could help fund their baby shower, and Randall sent him money too. Randall was furious that it took us both for money, but he left it alone and we didn't hear from any of the kids after that. Mid-March comes along and we're visiting with my husband's family when his sister-in-law asked why we didn't go to the baby shower the previous weekend. Because we didn't know about it. We were stunned to say the least. Then his sister-in-law dropped another bomb on us. The baby was born the day before the shower. Come to find out, all 4 kids and their mother agreed to not invite us to the baby shower or to even let us know that the baby was born. They needed just the money. To say that I was livid would be an understatement. So I sent Kyle a message a couple of days later and told him that it's one thing to not invite us to the shower, but to not let us know about the baby was heartbreaking. I told him that I hoped they'd had a great time and that they were gifted everything that they needed. I congratulated him on the birth of his son and that I hoped he's healthy and adored. My husband sent a similar message. We've yet to hear back from him and we're headed into mid-June. So, after the conversation between myself and my husband, and the fact that I paid for the entire trip on my own, we decided to cancel their tickets for what was supposed to be our family vacation. I got a partial refund for some of the reservations that I had made, but that's okay. I'll take the loss. Last week, we got a call from the other 3 asking what dates they needed to plan for and what they should pack. And I let them know that I canceled their tickets, so they didn't need to worry about it after all. They were angry and had some choice words. I honestly feel like it's the best decision we could have made, but am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're not telling us the whole story. Why has every one of the kids gone low contact with their dad? We've both bent over backwards for all of these kids. My husband got both of his sons jobs with his employer at different times, and they came to stay with us. We provided everything that they needed, food, housing, etc. Neither lasted much more than a month. They missed their friends and the fun they were having, so they left. No notices. We told them that they'd have to figure their lives out as they're adults, and we told them that we wouldn't be sending money as often anymore. Recently, the older daughter asked us to buy her a new car because she treated the first car we bought her terribly and is no longer in great running condition. That should make the car payments. But she doesn't work and doesn't plan on it. We told her absolutely not. She stopped talking to either of us then. The expectations are huge. And no, I haven't told y'all the whole story because it would take a long time. Y'all would be shocked at some of the stuff we've been asked for. And not just by the kids, the mother too. Not the a-hole. My heart breaks for you both. As an adopted child, I would never do this to my parents. My situation is actually opposite. My family does not drive to see me. I drive to them. And I understand because they're older and honestly don't feel comfortable making long trips. But I expect when I do make a trip to spend time with them because I only get so much time off. I had a daughter over a year ago. My whole entire family has treated her as their own even though I'm adopted. I actually messaged my mom that I can't express how happy I am that we are loved so much. The kids are missing out, but I don't know the whole situation. Was the divorce acrimonious? Did Randall cheat? Those things do matter to older children, but the mature adult thing to do would be to talk about it with her dad. It almost sounds like the mom has poisoned them against their father and you. You both shouldn't send any more money to any of them. You should enjoy your lives, and you both deserve apologies. The divorce was indeed acrimonious. His ex had an affair with her manager at work, which resulted in the youngest daughter. She let him believe that the baby was his, and he found out when she was a year old that he was not her bio father. A DNA test was taken. They divorced about a year later and I met him 5 years after their divorce. It wasn't really sudden that they started acting this way, it was just that it became constant. Mother is extremely involved and they absolutely learned this from her. She coached them a large part of the time. Money has always been her driving force as well. Not the a-hole. Enjoy your trip. And maybe start looking into wills and inheritance issues. Agreed. What horrible children. Just there for money. It's so sad for Opie and her husband who have tried to have a relationship with them. Opie not the a-hole, but expect demands for money to continue. Sounds kinda like mom's been poisoning their thoughts since the divorce. My thoughts exactly. Betcha she's embedded the money grubbing from her ex to her children. Like what the heck? They funded vacations for them and their mom. I would have bailed before that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling my birthday trip after my sister invited the kids? I, 27 female, planned a vacation to San Diego for myself and my boyfriend, 31 male, for the end of June, which happens to fall around my birthday, between the two of us. We have 4 kids that we had already arranged childcare for, being that we are both single parents. We made sure we had at least 2 backup plans as well, just in case something went wrong with the initial sitters. A few days ago, my older sister, 33 female, asked if herself and her husband, 32 male, would be able to join us. I agreed, not thinking anything of it. Then later that day, I checked my phone and saw in the family group chat she had also invited my little brother, his wife, and their 2 kids along. So out of curiosity, I asked her was she also bringing her baby. She said yes, and she also booked a hotel near Disney for us all to stay in. I politely asked who was us all, and she responded my boyfriend, myself, our 4 kids, herself, her husband, their baby, our little brother, his wife, and their 2 kids. Normally I would have been upset, but I really should have expected nothing less, because she has a pattern of hijacking trips. So I just let her know we were no longer be going, because the entire purpose of the trip was to get away from the kids and reset for a couple of days. After all, it was still my birthday weekend, and I know full well I wanted to be drunk 90% of the trip. I did not want to be bothered for snacks and potty breaks anyways. After I let her know my boyfriend and I wouldn't be going on the trip anymore, she began texting the group chat nonstop, saying how I was being selfish and I shouldn't have kids if I didn't want to take them on every trip with me. I'm not sure if I'm actually an a-hole for not wanting to be around kids for a couple of days, or if it's just the normal guilt parents have when they finally try to do something nice for themselves. Not the a-hole. Book something somewhere else and enjoy yourself. You and your boyfriend should go ahead to San Diego. They can go to Anaheim where Disneyland is. Tell them they can watch your 4 kids along with everyone else's. Just kidding, because you already have plans with sitters. Enjoy your birthday with your boyfriend. Yeah, seriously curious how booking hotel hours away from the original destination wasn't going to be missed. Even if they are driving, was the sister just going to head to Anaheim while Opie drove to San Diego? Not the a-hole. People who hijack or crash other people's vacations are a-holes. And parents who want an adult's vacation without kids are not a-holes and need not feel 1 dot of guilt. With 4 kids, you deserve a break if you feel you need one. You're not being selfish. Some parents don't mind having kids on all their vacations. Good for them, but they don't get to impose that on people who feel differently. This was your vacation, and your sister decided to be Miss Control Freak and decide on a totally different experience for everyone. You say she has a pattern of hijacking trips, so you have to ask yourself, why did I tell her? Plan your vacations without telling her or anyone else who would tell her. Good communication is a great thing, but that doesn't mean you have to be an open book, especially to boundary stompers. You can keep life plans to yourself. My parents took a vacation every year without us. I never even questioned that they should be able to do this. I understood why at a very early age. To be honest, we kind of liked the vacation from them too. My parents did the same. Long weekend away with a big group of friends every year. Nana would come hang out with us for the weekend, and we had a blast. I mean, she taught us to play poker and make ravioli and bolognese. We had more fun than the adults who were on vacation. You're absolutely not the a-hole, Opie. Not the a-hole. Call it out in the group chat. Not only did you invite yourself to my birthday trip, you invited others and changed it completely. That's not the trip I planned. It is not the trip I want, so it won't be the trip I go on. We've all sat there while you hijacked vacations and have said nothing. But it's not happening this time. Also, next time you have a problem with me, approach me like an adult, instead of calling it out in a group chat. You are acting like a spoiled child and it's pathetic. I support this plan of action. Except I would go with, it's my birthday, and for my birthday trip that you invited yourself and the entire family on was to be a romantic vacation with my partner, which is healthy in any relationship. I'm sorry if that is not your relationship, but it is mine. This doesn't mean I don't love my children fiercely, and it's sad that you view it as such. You should plan your own vacation. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not punishing my dog and kicking out family? My 23 female dog Baha just got surgery. I hosted a family dinner with aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, nieces, and nephews. As everyone walked in, I asked that Baha be left alone on the couch on her spot. Welp, one of my cousins, Jane's daughter Amy, decided to go near Baha and bother her while I was in the kitchen. I figured since I asked the adults, they'd make sure their kids left her alone. Amy had bothered Baha, and Baha let out a warning growl. I quickly came to the living room and told Amy to leave Baha alone as she wants to rest. Amy was crying because Baha's growl scared her. Jane then gets mad at me saying, "Is that all you're going to do?" She snapped at my daughter and scared her. She's traumatized and probably won't ever go near a dog again. I then snapped back. I'm not going to punish my dog for giving your child a warning. I asked you guys to leave her alone as you walked through the door. You should have watched your child. Other family members chimed in and said I shouldn't let Baha act like that towards kids, and she does deserve a punishment, while others sided with me. I then yelled at everyone, "This is Baha's house." She let out a warning. She didn't snap her teeth at Amy. She didn't bite her. She let out a warning because she wasn't comfortable. She didn't feel safe, and she has every right to feel safe in her home. So if you guys have a problem with me not punishing my dog because she let out a warning, and I will say this again, because she didn't feel safe in her home, then you may leave her home. I will not treat my dog like she's any less than because Jane couldn't watch Amy, and is being a brat for Baha not wanting to be touched. I was told from Jane and her family that I was an a-hole. So am I? Edit. For those saying I shouldn't have had a gathering, it was planned months ago. Her surgery was not. My house was the best place to have it since my kitchen is bigger than others. I would have hosted it in the backyard, but unfortunately it rained. If I had canceled the dinner, I would have wasted a bunch of money that wasn't mine as family was traveling for this reunion. I couldn't carry her upstairs, or else I would have hurt her in the process. She could barely walk up the small ramp to the couch. She's doing great now. Amy is 11 years old. Amy was mistreating Baha and was told to stop and leave her alone. She didn't listen. 11-year-olds know right from wrong. Her 3 to 7-year-old cousins listened better than her. They were told once to leave Baha be. Even when they were near her, they were just petting her and she didn't mind. But their parents wanted to let Baha rest, and they listened. Not the a-hole. You backed your dog who did exactly what a person would hope for. The dog didn't bite. It was a warning growl. Probably not the first warning either, just the first vocal one. I'm pretty confident anyone blaming the dog owner has terrible kids. So much this. The dog showed restraint by not biting and communicated in the only way dogs can. And what the heck do the family mean punish the dog? Like, how do they want her to punish Baha? And it's even more outrageous that they want her to punish an animal who just had surgery and basically said, "Leave me alone, I don't feel well." The family members who are not on OP's side are wild. Also, definitely not the a-hole. If you disrespect my dogs in their own home, their own safe space where they can relax, you can GTFO immediately. I actually stopped seeing a woman once because she didn't really like dogs, and she told off my lurcher for coming for a hello sniff. And poor Mabel went to the other sofa and had her ears back with her sad face because she didn't understand what she had done wrong. Broke my heart, and that was an immediate end to that relationship. I don't understand adults that do this. We have a bunch of nieces and nephews and some younger siblings that spend time at my house, and all of them know that this is the dog and cat's house. And if you can't be nice, you can't spend time here. All the kids get it. Why can't adults? Not a-hole. Never ever punish a dog for a warning growl, because the next time they will skip the growl and go straight to bite. Growl is the last step on the ladder before bite. There are many steps before that, but most kids, unless taught, won't understand them. like lip licking, ears back, tail tucked, whale eyes, etc. This is what I came here to comment on. If you punish a dog for warning growls, you are potentially training them to skip growling and bite. It may have been better to put the dog in another room where you knew she wouldn't be bothered, but I can also understand why you'd want to be able to keep an eye on her, post-surgery and all. But still not the a-hole.